First contact and condescension. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched impossibly high, its crystalline walls refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Sarah Chen stood perfectly still, her diplomatic uniform crisp despite the 14-hour journey from Earth. As humanity's first ambassador to the Council, she had expected condescension. What she hadn't expected was outright pity. "Your species has done remarkably well, considering your origins," Supreme Counselor Vexterra announced, her luminescent tentacles rippling in what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of a patronizing smile. Few races survive to achieve spaceflight while evolving on a death world. Sarah felt her jaw tighten but maintained her composed expression. Earth's classification as a death world, a planet with environmental conditions considered extremely hostile by galactic standards, had become the Council's favorite talking point. They marveled at humanity's survival on a planet with such horrific features as varying temperatures, significant gravitational pull, and diverse predatory species. "We appreciate the Council's recognition of our achievements," Sarah replied diplomatically, though she couldn't entirely keep the edge from her voice. "However, we are here to discuss trade partnerships, not our evolutionary history." A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the assembled council members. Councillor Zrith, a towering insectoid, clicked his mandibles. "Ambassador Chen, you must understand. We have protocols for integrating developing species. The standard procedure for Deathworld races is placement under protective supervision." Protective supervision. Sarah's eyebrows rose slightly. "For your own safety, of course," Vexterra interjected smoothly. "Your species has shown remarkable resilience, but the galaxy is vast and dangerous. Under our protection, we would guide your development, restrict potentially hazardous technologies, and ensure your colonies remain within approved safe zones." Dr. James Morrison, Earth's leading xenobiologist and Sarah's technical advisor, shifted beside her. She could practically feel his tension. They had both reviewed the protective supervision protocols in preparation for this meeting. It was effectively glorified quarantine, a way to contain species the Council deemed potentially problematic. "That's a generous offer," Sarah said carefully, "but Earth has already established independent colonies. We have our own terraforming programs, defense forces." "Precisely our concern," interrupted Councillor Drax, his crystalline form glinting sharply. "Deathworld species tend toward aggressive expansion. Your natural survival instincts, while admirable, can be disruptive to galactic harmony." Sarah took a measured breath. "With respect, Counselor, humanity has no interest in disrupting galactic harmony. We seek cooperation, not supervision. Earth has developed its own solutions to many challenges the Council faces: advances in adaptive agriculture, innovative approaches to hostile environment colonization, achieved through dangerous, uncontrolled methods." Vexterra cut in. "Your species takes unnecessary risks, Ambassador. Your very presence here demonstrates this. Sending a biological representative rather than a safe remote communication." "We believe in personal diplomacy," Sarah replied firmly. "And speaking personally, I must inform the Council that Earth respectfully declines the offer of protective supervision." The chamber fell silent. Even the ambient hum of environmental systems seemed to pause. "That would be unwise," Drith said finally. "No Deathworld species has ever refused Council protection." Sarah smiled, a gesture she knew many Council species found unsettling. "Then perhaps it's time for new precedents. Earth has thrived precisely because of our ability to adapt to challenges. We don't need protection from the galaxy. We need partners willing to explore its possibilities with us. You would reject billions of years of established protocol." Vexterra's tentacles had stopped their graceful undulation, rigid with what might have been shock or outrage. "We would reject the assumption that survival in challenging conditions makes us dangerous rather than resourceful," Sarah countered. "Earth's history has taught us that true strength comes not from dominance, but from adaptation, cooperation, and innovation." Dr. Morrison stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overwhelming his diplomatic restraint. If the Council would review our technological and social development data, you'd see that humanity's Deathworld origins have fostered remarkable problem-solving capabilities. Our proposals for bilateral research initiatives. Enough. Drax's crystalline surface flickered with colored patterns of agitation. Ambassador Chen, you will be given time to reconsider this rash decision. The Council strongly urges you to contemplate the consequences of refusing our protection. Sarah's spine straightened imperceptibly. We have contemplated them, Counselor. Earth has contemplated them since we first looked up at the stars and decided to reach them. Despite all the natural and technological barriers we faced, we respectfully maintain our position. As she and Dr. Morrison were escorted from the chamber, Sarah could feel the weight of the Council's collective gaze. They had expected submission, received defiance, and now would have to face something they perhaps feared more than any Deathworld species: change. They'll retaliate, Morrison muttered as they walked the luminescent corridors back to their ship. Economic sanctions, technology restrictions. Probably, Sarah agreed, her pace steady and unhurried. But they've made a crucial mistake. Oh, they think surviving on a Deathworld made us afraid. A slight smile curved her lips. They haven't considered that it made us innovative instead. The human diplomatic vessel departed the Council station under the watchful eyes of dozens of species. None of them seemed to notice that its design incorporated several technologies they had deemed too dangerous for Deathworld races. It was the first of many surprises humanity would deliver to their galactic neighbors. Sarah's final transmission to the Council that day was brief. We look forward to working with you as equals. After all, if we could master a Deathworld, imagine what we can achieve as partners. The Council chambers erupted in debate after their departure, but one thing was becoming clear. Humanity would not be easily contained. The galaxy was about to learn why surviving on a Deathworld wasn't a weakness, but perhaps the greatest strength of all. The Council's ultimatum. 3 months after Earth's rejection of protective supervision, the consequences arrived with mathematical precision. The Galactic Council's response came not with warships or threats, but with something they considered far more devastating: isolation. Admiral Helena Santos stood at the viewport of Earth's orbital command station, watching as yet another alien merchant vessel altered course to avoid Earth's space. The Council's trade embargo had been comprehensive and swift. No technology exchanges, no cultural missions, no scientific collaborations. They think they're starving us out, she mused, her reflection grim in the reinforced glass. As if we haven't spent our entire history finding ways to do more with less. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Wong, head of Earth's Advanced Research Division, manipulated a holographic display showing the latest developments across human space. Their embargo has actually accelerated some of our projects. Nothing motivates human innovation quite like being told we can't do something. The display highlighted dozens of research stations and colonies across Earth-controlled space, where alien technology had been withdrawn. Human ingenuity had filled the gaps. Old technologies were being reimagined, new ones invented out of necessity. The Council's latest message? Helena asked, though she could guess its content. Marcus projected the transmission. Supreme Counselor Vexterra's image appeared, tentacles moving in carefully measured patterns. Earth's continued defiance of established protocols cannot be tolerated. Your colonies expand beyond approved safe zones. Your ships employ unauthorized technological modifications. Your very presence disrupts the careful balance we have maintained for millennia. Helena watched the message with a raised eyebrow. They still don't understand, do they? That's the beauty of it, Marcus replied, his eyes bright with barely contained excitement. They've spent so long controlling access to advanced technology that they've forgotten how to innovate. But us. He gestured to another display showing a breakthrough in hull metallurgy that even the Council hadn't achieved. We're just getting started. The Council's ultimatum was simple: accept protection or face complete isolation from galactic society. They had expected compliance within weeks. Instead, Humanity shocked them by thriving. Earth's colonies, rather than withering without Council support, developed new terraforming techniques. When denied access to standard galactic navigation systems, human engineers created their own, more efficient versions. Each restriction meant to humble humanity and instead sparked a wave of innovation. Latest reports from the Artemis colony, Marcus announced, pulling up fresh data. They've successfully adapted the bacterial reclamation system. Toxic atmospheres can now be processed twice as fast as Council standard methods. Helena nodded, unsurprised. And the defense grid? Better than we hoped. The quantum entanglement communication system is fully operational. Council ships can't detect, much less intercept, our transmissions anymore. A junior officer rushed into the command center, tablet in hand. Admiral, we're detecting unusual movement at the edge of our space. Multiple Council vessels, but they're not military. Helena and Marcus shared a knowing look. Refugees, she asked. Appears so. 3 ships carrying scientists from the Zeth Collective. They're requesting asylum. This was return fire, Maya ordered. Non-lethal options only. Let's show them how a Deathworld species handles unwanted guests. The Horizon's main batteries came online, firing concentrated pulses of electromagnetic energy that disabled rather than destroyed their targets. One by one, pirate ships went dark, their systems overloaded by weapons they had never encountered before. Sir, her tactical officer called out, Council observation vessels have moved into range. They're watching. Of course they were. The Council had probably expected the pirates to bloody humanity's nose, proving their point about protective supervision. Instead, they were witnessing something unprecedented. Keep our defense purely defensive, Maya commanded, but make sure they get a good show. The battle, if it could be called that, was over in minutes. The pirate fleet hung dead in space, disabled but intact. Already, rescue shuttles were launching from the Horizon to secure the vessels and provide aid to their crews. Message from the colony, the comms officer reported. Director Chen wants to know if we'd like to send our guests to the rehabilitation center or the education facility. Maya considered for a moment. Both. These pirates just got a first-hand look at what humanity can do. Let's show them what we can teach them too. The Council observation vessels lingered, recording everything. They watched as human ships not only defeated the pirates but then rescued them, offered them medical care, and even provided options for a new start. It was warfare conducted with precision, mercy, and purpose. Everything the Council had assumed a Deathworld species would be incapable of. Incoming transmission from the Council fleet, comms announced. They're requesting information about our defensive systems. Send them our standard response. Maya said, knowing the words by heart. Earth is happy to share technology and knowledge with partners, not protectors. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Maya reflected on how far humanity had come. The Council's attempt to isolate them had forced innovation at an unprecedented pace. But more than that, it had proven something vital. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't just surviving adversity, but finding ways to turn it into opportunity. The defeated pirate ships were being towed to New Darwin's space dock for processing. Soon, many of their crew would be offered choices, rehabilitation, education, even eventual integration into human society. It was an approach that would have baffled the Council, who believed Deathworld species could only respond to threats with violence. Update from the Quantum Network, her science officer reported. 3 more Council member species have reached out through back channels. They're interested in trade negotiations, independent of Council oversight. Maya nodded. The galaxy was changing, one small interaction at a time. Humanity's refusal to be contained had sparked something greater than mere defiance. It had sparked hope. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Operation Proving Ground was a success. And let's prepare guest quarters. I suspect we'll be having more visitors soon. The stars seemed a little brighter as Maya gazed out at the vastness of space. Humanity had just shown the galaxy that being from a death world didn't make you dangerous. It made you resourceful, adaptable, and perhaps most surprisingly of all, compassionate. The Council would have to decide how to respond to this latest development. But for now, at the edge of human space, a new way forward was taking shape, one that promised not just survival, but growth, learning, and real partnership among the stars. The tables turn. The Council chamber had changed in the 6 months since humanity's refusal of protection. Where once crystalline walls had gleamed with unquestioned authority, now hairline cracks seemed to show in the very foundation of galactic governance. Supreme Counselor Vexterra's tentacles moved in agitated patterns as she addressed the emergency session. "The situation has become untenable," she declared. 17 member species have now established direct diplomatic relations with Earth, bypassing Council protocols entirely. The humans' influence spreads like a viral infection. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat calmly in the observer's gallery, officially present only to witness Council proceedings. In reality, her presence was a reminder of how drastically the balance of power had shifted. Perhaps, Councillor Zrith clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. We should consider that our initial assessment of Deathworld species was flawed. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Such direct questioning of Council doctrine was unprecedented. "The humans have demonstrated remarkable achievements," another counselor added. "Their quantum communication network alone has revolutionized colonial defense strategies, and their approach to atmospheric transformation, achieved through dangerous, uncontrolled methods." Vexterra interrupted, but her protest sounded hollow even to her own sensors. Sarah watched the debate unfold, remembering the series of events that had led to this moment. After the New Darwin incident, knowledge of humanity's technological advances had spread rapidly through the galaxy. Council member species, long frustrated by technological restrictions, had begun seeking Earth's expertise. The Zeth Collective had been first, their scientists already working alongside humans to develop new energy systems. The Drachnid Empire followed, impressed by Earth's innovative approach to environmental adaptation. One by one, species that had once looked down on Deathworlders were now seeking partnership. Ambassador Chen, Vexterra's voice cut through the chamber's debate. "You have been suspiciously quiet." Sarah rose slowly. "I am merely here to observe, Supreme Counselor. Though if you're asking for Earth's perspective, we are not." Vexterra snapped, but other council members were already signaling their interest. "Please, Ambassador," Zrith encouraged, "share your thoughts." Sarah stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "Earth never sought to challenge the Council's authority. We simply refused to accept limitations based on outdated assumptions. The species now working with us haven't abandoned the Council. They've simply discovered that cooperation achieves more than control. And the results speak for themselves," a new voice added. Dr. James Morrison, now Earth's Secretary of Senescence, entered the chamber. His presence was technically a protocol violation, but no one moved to stop him. "The joint research initiative between Earth and the Zeth Collective has produced breakthrough treatments for radiation sickness," Morrison continued. "Our work with the Drachnid Empire has doubled the efficiency of atmospheric processors. These achievements weren't made despite our Deathworld origins, but because of them. Our harsh environment taught us to innovate or die," Sarah added. "But it also taught us the value of working together to overcome challenges. Every species that has partnered with us has found not just technological advancement, but a new way of approaching problems." The chamber fell silent as her words sank in. Even Vexterra seemed to deflate slightly, her tentacles moving in patterns of resignation. "What exactly are you proposing?" Zrith asked. "A restructuring of the Council," Sarah replied. "Not its dissolution, but its evolution. Replace protective supervision with collaborative development. Let species grow at their own pace, share innovations freely, and face challenges together." "Impossible," Vexterra declared. "The protocols have maintained peace for millennia." "They've maintained stagnation," Morrison countered. And now change is coming whether the Council accepts it or not. The only question is whether you'll help guide that change or be left behind by it. As if to emphasize his point, a priority message flashed across the chamber's information displays. Another Council species, the Arxer Collective, had just announced formal research treaties with Earth. Sarah watched as the reality of the situation settled over the Council members. Humanity hadn't needed to fight the Council. They had simply needed to prove there was a better way. Now, species across the galaxy were voting with their actions, choosing partnership over protection. "We invite the Council to send representatives to Earth," Sarah offered, "not to supervise, but to participate. See firsthand how cooperation between diverse species can drive progress faster than control ever could." The next few hours saw intense debate, but the outcome was inevitable. The galaxy was changing, and the Council would have to change with it. As Sarah prepared to depart, Vexterra approached her privately. "You planned this from the beginning," the Supreme Counselor accused, though there was a note of admiration in her harmonic tones. Sarah smiled. "We plan to survive and thrive, as we always have. Everything else was just adaptation to circumstance. That's what Deathworlders do best, after all." A new order. The threat emerged from intergalactic space, silent and inexorable. The Void Swarm, as it would come to be known, defied conventional physics and ignored traditional defensive measures. When it consumed its first Council world, turning an entire civilization into quantum static, the galaxy's old order crumbled in hours. In the Council's Emergency Command Center, Supreme Counselor Vexterra watched helplessly as another world went dark. "Nothing in our archives, nothing in our protocols." Her tentacles writhed in distress. "We are facing extinction." "Not yet." Sarah Chen's voice cut through the panic. Earth's ambassador stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, studying the swarm's advance pattern. Behind her, Admiral Helena Santos and Dr. Marcus Wong worked with a mixed team of human and alien scientists, their previous divisions forgotten in the face of annihilation. The Council's traditional response would be to sacrifice outer worlds to protect the core systems. Counselor Zrith observed, his mandibles clicking nervously. "That's not an option," Helena stated flatly. "Earth doesn't abandon allies." It had been 2 years since the Council's restructuring, 2 years of rapid advancement as species shared knowledge freely. Now, facing an unprecedented threat, that cooperation would be tested. "We've got something," Marcus announced, his fingers dancing over quantum-linked controls. "The swarm's quantum signature. It's not random. It's adaptive." "Like us," Sarah whispered, pieces clicking into place. "It's not just consuming worlds, it's learning from them. Every civilization it absorbs makes it stronger." "Which means conventional weapons are worse than useless," Helena added. "They'll just give it more patterns to adapt to." The command center erupted in debate, species from across the galaxy offering theories and suggestions. But Sarah noticed something curious. The humans in the room were smiling. "You have a plan," Vexterra realized, studying their expressions. "We have experience," Sarah corrected. "Earth species evolved through endless adaptation. We know how to disrupt adaptive patterns." Marcus projected a new simulation. "The swarm evolves by absorbing ordered systems, technology, biology, physics. But what happens when you introduce chaos into a learning pattern? You force it to restart its learning process," Helena continued. "And while it's reorganizing, you hit it with everything you've got," Sarah finished. "But we'll need every species working together. No holding back technology, no secret weapons, total cooperation." The plan was audacious. Using modified versions of Earth's quantum communication network, they would broadcast contradictory data patterns across all frequencies. Every ship, every station, every planet would become part of a galaxy-wide disruption field. "The Void Swarm relies on perfect adaptation," Marcus explained to the assembled representatives. "We're going to give it so many contradictions that it can't adapt to anything." And then, Zrith asked. Helena's smile was predatory. Then we show it what happens when you threaten a galaxy of united Deathworlders. The next 48 hours saw the greatest cooperative effort in galactic history. Species that had once been forbidden to develop advanced technology worked alongside former Council races. Earth's quantum networks linked everything together, coordinating a defense that would have been impossible under the old order. When the Void Swarm approached the Arcturus sector, it encountered not cowering worlds waiting to be consumed, but an intricate web of quantum chaos. Every attempt to adapt was met with contradictory information. Every pattern it tried to absorb collapsed into nonsense. Now, Helena commanded. The combined fleet struck from quantum silence, weapons developed through cooperation between a dozen species firing as one. The swarm, caught in mid-adaptation, couldn't defend itself. Where it had expected ordered resistance, it found creative chaos. Where it sought patterns to consume, it found human unpredictability multiplied across an entire galaxy. In the aftermath, as the last traces of the swarm were being contained, Sarah stood again in the council chamber. But this time, she wasn't an observer or even an ambassador. She was part of a new kind of leadership. The old council sought to protect through control. She addressed the assembled species. But it was only through true cooperation that we survived. Every world that stands today does so because we finally learned to share our strengths rather than fear our differences. A death world taught us that, Vex Terra acknowledge, her tentacles moving in patterns of respect. Perhaps that is why your kind was best suited to teach us. The galaxy would never return to its former rigid hierarchy. In its place, a new order emerged, one built on the principle that had saved them all. Adaptation through cooperation. Earth's greatest export hadn't been technology or warfare, but the simple truth that strength comes in countless forms, and the greatest power lies in learning from each other. As the new Galactic Coalition took shape, Sarah couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Council had once feared that humanity's Deathworld origins made them too dangerous to trust. In the end, those same origins had given humanity exactly what the galaxy needed: the ability to face impossible odds and find a way forward, not alone, but together. Ready for the next challenge? Helena asked, joining Sarah at the chamber's viewport. Sarah watched the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, new threats and opportunities waited. But this time, they would face them as a united galaxy. Always, she replied. That's what Deathworlders do best.